an administrator, a public servant who dedicated his life to the service of his people and the nation at large. Mr. President, I so submit.
Thank you very much, distinguished Senator Sumata Demi. Let's observe a 1 minute silence, please. May the soul of our distinguished compatriot rest in perfect peace. Amen. Leader of the Senate. Leader of the Senate.
She has the wrong person. Mr. President, my highly respected and distinguished colleagues, the first business of the day is the presentation of a bill standing in the name of distinguished Senator Suleiman Abdul Kari on the Money Laundering Prevention and Prohibition Enactment Bill 2021. Mr. President, you may wish to invite the Clerk of the Senate to read the short title of the bill.
Clerk of the Senate.
Mr. President, distinguished senators, Money Laundering Prevention and Prohibition Enactment Bill 2021 SB 642, first reading.
Okay. Thank you. Money Laundering Prevention and Prohibition Enactment Bill 2021 SB 642, first reading taken. Leader of the Senate.
Mr. President, my highly respected and distinguished colleagues, the second business of the day is the presentation of a bill standing in the name of distinguished Senator George Sekibo on the Immigration Act 2010 Amendment Bill 2021. Mr. President, you may wish to invite the Clerk of the Senate to read the short title of the bill.
Clerk of the Senate.
Mr. President, distinguished senators, Immigration Act 2010 Amendment Bill 2021 SB 694, first reading.
Immigration Act 2010 Amendment Bill 2021 SB 694, first reading taken. Leader of the Senate.
Mr. President, the third business of the day is the presentation of a bill standing in the name of distinguished Senator Adelere Adeyemi Oriolowo on the Federal Institutes of Tractorization and Field Applications, Precision Agriculture and Irrigation Technology, Establishment Bill 2021. Mr. President, you may wish to invite the Clerk of the Senate to read the short title of the bill.
Clerk of the Senate.
Mr. President, distinguished senators, Federal Institutes of Tractorization, Field Application, Precision Agriculture and Irrigation Technology Establishment Bill 2021 SB 723, first reading.
Federal Institutes of Tractorization, Field Applications, Precision Agriculture and Irrigation Technology Establishment Bill 2021 SB 723, first reading taken. Leader of the Senate.
Mr. President, my highly respected and distinguished colleagues, the fourth business of the day is the presentation of a bill standing in the name of distinguished Senator Teslim Folari on the National Environmental Standards and Regulations Enforcement Agency, NESRIA, Act 2007, Amendment Bill 2021. Mr. President, you may wish to invite the Clerk of the Senate to read the short title of the bill.
Clerk of the Senate.
Mr. President, distinguished senators, National Environmental Standards and Regulation Enforcement Agency, NESRA Act, 2007 Amendment Bill 2021 SB 724, first reading.
National Environmental Standards and Regulations Enforcement Agency, NESRA, Act 2007 Amendment Bill 2021, SB 724, first reading taken. Leader of the Senate.
Mr. President, my highly respected and distinguished colleagues, the fifth business of the day is the presentation of our bill standing in the name of distinguished Senator Uche Lilie Ekunife on the Constitution of the Federal Republic of Nigeria 1999 Alteration Bill 2021. Mr. President, you may wish to invite the Clerk of the Senate to read the short title of the bill.
Clerk of the Senate.
Mr. President, distinguished senators, Constitution of the Federal Republic of Nigeria 1999 Alteration Bill 2021 SB 725, first reading.
1999 Constitution of the Federal Republic of Nigeria Alteration Bill 2021, SB 725, first reading taken. Leader of the Senate.
Mr. President, my highly respected and distinguished colleagues, the first order of the day is the second reading of the Federal University of Science and Technology Law, Taraba State Establishment Bill 2021. Distinguished senators will recall that the bill was read the first time in this distinguished chamber on Wednesday, 17th March 2021. Mr. President, you may wish to invite distinguished Senator Isa Shaibu Lau to move the motion for the bill to be read the second time.
Distinguished Senator Isa Shaibu Lau.
Thank you, Mr. President. My distinguished colleagues, Isa Shaibu, representing the good people of Taraba North. Mr. President, my distinguished colleagues, permit me to lead the debate of this very important bill for the establishment of the Federal University of Science and Technology, Lao, Taraba State. The bill was read for the first time in this hallowed chamber on Wednesday, 17 March 2021. Mr. President, my distinguished colleague, this bill seeks to establish the Federal University of Science and Technology law and comprehensive provision for its due management and administration. The establishment of this institution is informed by the imperative to create more access to university education in view of the large number of qualified candidates who are annually stranded in their failed attempt in gaining admission into the University of Education, particularly in the northeastern part of Nigeria. The object of the university shall be to encourage the advancement of learning, to hold out to all persons without distinction of race, creed, sex, or political conviction, the opportunity of acquiring higher and liberal education. B, provide courses of instruction and other facilities for the pursuit of learning in all its branches, and to make those facilities available on proper terms to such persons as equipped to benefit from them. C, to encourage and promote scholarship and conduct research in restricted fields of learning and human endeavor. D, to relate its activities to the social, cultural, and economic needs of the people of Nigeria, and undertake other activities appropriate for a university of higher standard. Mr. President, my distinguished colleagues, our economy has very high potentials and requires high-level technical, scientific, and administrative skill to drive it. To drive the establishment of this university will go a long way into achieving those targets. Mr. President, My distinguished colleague, this bill is well organized for its very own purpose of modern academic and research institution. The objectives of the university, as articulated above, are supportive of its mission and broad vision of modern institution that will develop world-class technologies as well as human resources that can sustainably manage our nation's economy by providing technical and management expertise at the highest level. The university is therefore to further advance knowledge through research and nurture unique and technological innovation, entrepreneurship, and wealth management in its core area of demand. Mr. President, my distinguished colleagues, the enactment of this bill will help in transforming the technological and educational fortunes in Nigeria in producing the desired manpower, expertise that Nigeria is yearning for. In view with our Order 77 Sub 3, the compendium of financial implication is hereby attached. Mr. President, my distinguished colleagues, I urge all to support this bill for the second reading. Thank you.
Yes, Senator Olujimi.
Thank you very much, Mr. President, distinguished colleagues. I am Biodun Olujimi. I am Senator representing Ekiti South. Mr. President, I rise to second this bill. Mr. President, there is no gainsaying that education is the bedrock of any nation. And we cannot have enough of these establishments that will help our youth to go to school and become better citizens of the country. Mr. President, a few days ago, I was at my local government to commission one of the secondary schools that was built by the SDG. And I found out that in just one school, in my local government, Ekiti East local government, they had an enrollment of 1,875 pupils. Those students will eventually go into one institution or the other. If we do not lay a foundation for them in every state, we will find out that when it's time for them to get access to higher education, it might be tough. Mr. President, this is one of the reasons for which we're here, to ensure that federal presence is felt in all our local governments and in all our localities. I support and second this. Thank you very much, Mr. President.
Is anybody against the bill? Those in favor that this bill be now read a second time, say aye. Those against, say nay. The ayes have it. Clerk of the Senate.
Mr. President, distinguished senators, a bill for an act to provide for the establishment of the Federal University of Science and Technology Law, Taraba State, and for related matters thereof, 2021, SB 672, second reading.
A bill for an act to provide for the establishment of the Federal University of Science and Technology Law, Taraba State, and for related matters thereof, 2021, second reading taken. And the bill is referred to the Committee on Tertiary Institutions and Third Fund to report back within 4 weeks. Leader of the Senate.
Mr. President, my highly respected and distinguished colleagues, the second order of the day is the second reading of the Federal University of Sports Establishment Bill 2021. Distinguished senators will recall that the bill was read the first time in this distinguished chamber on Tuesday, 5th November 2019. Mr. President, you may wish to invite the distinguished Senator Obinna Ogba to move the motion for the bill to be read the second time.
Distinguished Senator Obinna Ogba, Ebonyi Central.
Thank you, Mr. President, distinguished colleagues. Obinna Ogba, Ebonyi Central. Mr. President, permit me to lead the debate on the Federal Sports University, establishment of Federal University of Sports in Ebonyi State, Establishment Bill 2021, SB 138. Mr. President, permit me to lead the debate of this very important bill for the establishment of the Federal Sports University of Nigeria in Ebonyi State. The bill was read for the first time in this Hello Chamber on Tuesday, 5th November 2019. The bill seeks to establish the Federal Sports University of Nigeria in Ebonyi State and to make comprehensive provisions for its due management and administration. The very essence of this bill is to provide a highly specialized institution where youths of our nation can be developed in various sporting endeavors in an academically charged environment. The objectives of the University of Sports, among others, include encourage the advancement of learning and to hold out to all persons without distinction or race, creed, sex, or political conviction the opportunity of acquiring higher education in sports. To develop and offer academic and professional programs leading to the award of diploma, first degree, postgraduate, research and higher degrees with emphasis on planning, adaptive technical maintenance, development and productive skills in engineering and allied professionals disciplines relating to sports resources with the aim of producing socially mature men and women with capability not only to understand the use of adopt existing technologies in sports, but to improve on them and develop new ones. To act as agent and catalyst through postgraduate training, research, and innovation for the effective and economic utilization, exploration, and conservation of the country's sports resources. To offer to the general population, particularly the area of sports, and a form of public service, the result of training and research, and to foster the practical application of this result. To establish appropriate relationship with other national institutions involved in training, research and development of technology in the sports sector. To identify the problems and needs for sports in Nigeria and to find solutions to them within the context of overall national development, and to provide and promote sound basic scientific training as a foundation for the development of sports in Nigeria, taking into account indigenous cultures and the need to enhance national unity. Mr. President, distinguished colleagues, our sports sector has very high potentials and requires high level of technical, scientific, and administration skills to drive it. The University of Sports is therefore to further advance knowledge through research and national unique innovation in sports scene and technology. In all modesty, may I submit that the establishment of this university is therefore a giant step in the right direction and a major milestone in the history of legislative in Nigeria. Mr. President, the enactment of this bill will help in transforming the sporting sector of Nigeria in producing the needed sportsmen and women, as well as sports administrators in various sporting events. Mr. President, distinguished colleagues, you will recall that this bill was passed in the last 8th Assembly, and I was very happy the current President of the Senate supported this bill as the leader of the Senate then. In line with Order 773, the compendium of financial implication is hereby attached. I urge you all to support this second reading. Thank you, Mr. President.
Thank you very much. Chief Whip.
Thank you, Mr. President. My name is Ojo Zakalo from Abia North. In supporting this bill brought by distinguished Senator Oba, the bill is going to do a lot for our football players. Mostly, at Pillar of Sports, I have seen many of these football players, because they are not educated, once they finish playing in Europe or playing in Africa, they come back home. Even how to manage the wealth they acquire will become problem. And I see also that this bill is going to further the football and athletics, and they will go to play football in Europe without any exposure or knowledge. So I think in supporting this bill to play football, most of them might go back to be good footballers, like Odegbami, who was very educated, and other ones. And you can see most of them who played even in the teams like Enyimba were not educated. And after that football, nobody hears about them again. So I support this bill so that both the federal government and state government should take it seriously to educate the boys on the track fields, on the football field, gymnastics, and all the rest of them, so that Nigeria will become, a lot of money will be made from the football and the athletics and all the rest of them, like other countries are making. I thank you, Mr. President, for giving me an opportunity in supporting this bill. Thank you very much.
Senator Francis Ibezim.
Thank you, Mr. President, and the entire distinguished senators. Senator Frank Ibezim Imonot. This bill will actually encourage not just football, all aspects of sports, and this will actually develop sports from the early stages to the university level. It will bring unity in this country, because sports has been one thing that encourages our country for unity. Anytime we are playing soccer or basketball or swimming, Nigerians gather together as one country. Besides that, it will encourage generation of foreign currency. Besides that, having a proper University of Sports in Nigeria will help the entire country in solving youth restiveness. It will also encourage Nigerians to even study in Nigeria. It will encourage a lot of Nigerians who would have been interested in education to understand that participating in sports will not stop them from growing in education. There's a whole lot that this bill can do for a country, especially at a time like this when we have challenges with our youths. This bill will encourage unity, it will encourage diversity, it will encourage progress. We need this bill this minute. I thank you for bringing up this bill this time, and I urge every member of this Senate to encourage this bill. Thank you, Mr.
Senator Michael Nachi.
Thank you, Mr. President. My name is simply Senator Michael Nachi, Boy South. Mr. President, this bill for the establishment of sports university cannot come in a better time than now. It is a sign of paradigm shift from establishment of College of Medicine, University of Science and Technology, to now, University of Sports. Your Excellency, it might be a surprise for us to note that in Nigeria, after the death of Line Sumba, Nigeria has not produced a referee that is of international repute, simply because we don't have such institutions. All the international players we produce in Nigeria, they are the best in the world, but none of them has ascribed as a coach, simply because we lack this kind of institutions. Today, we have #1 person in boxing. He may end up tomorrow coming back home without teaching others. Mr. President, I cannot do anything better than to support this bill wholeheartedly and ask our colleagues to please do the same. Thank you, Mr. President.
Senator Ezenwa Onyewuchi.
Thank you, Mr. President, distinguished colleagues. My name is Ezenwa Onyewuchi, and I represent Imo East Senatorial District. Mr. President, let me start by commending distinguished Senator Oba for this bill. And I would support this bill because this bill is talking about specialized institution, which is the trend globally. Now, most of the universities you find in developed countries are tilting towards specialization. And this university will establish a core competence, which is sports. And when that is done, we have a population that is enthusiastic about sports. So that fits into what we need at this time in Nigeria. It gives the youth the requisite skill through this education to make them self-reliant. So we don't have our youth coming out to come and line up for white-collar jobs. So if we have this university, you can be sure that as the students are graduating from the university, they have engagements for them, both locally and internationally. And this will be a money spinner. It will generate foreign exchange. As we know today, football is big business. So Nigeria will be part of this football trend and the big business in football and yield revenue for our country. So no matter how you look at it, the establishment of this university will add to the economic and social development of Nigeria. So I want to support this bill wholeheartedly and ask my colleagues to please support this bill. Thank you.
Is anybody against the bill? Those in favor that this bill be now read the second time, say aye. Those against, say nay. The ayes have it. Clerk of the Senate.
Mr. President, distinguished senators, a bill for an act to provide for the establishment of the Federal University of Sports in Kalagu, Ebonyi State, to make comprehensive provisions for its due management and administration, and for other related matters, 2021, SB 138, second reading.
A bill for an act to provide for the establishment of the Federal University of Sports in Kalagu, Ebonyi State, to make comprehensive provisions for its due management and administration, and for other related matters, 2021, second reading taken, and the bill is referred to the Committee on Sports and Social Development to report back within 4 weeks. Leader of the Senate.
Mr. President, my highly respected and distinguished colleagues, the third order of the day is the second reading of the Federal Universities of Technology Act, Cap F23, Laws of the Federation of Nigeria, 2004, Amendment Bill 2021. Distinguished senators will recall that the bill was read the first time in this distinguished chamber on Wednesday, 28 April 2021. Mr. President, you may wish to invite distinguished Senator Oyelola Isa Ashiru to move the motion for the bill to be read the second time.
Distinguished Senator Lola Ashiru.
Mr. President, my highly respected, distinguished colleagues, permit me to lead debate on a bill for an act to amend Federal University of Technology are Cap 123 F23 laws of Federation of Nigeria 2004 to establish the Federal University of Technology of Kwara State by upgrading the Federal Polytechnic of Kwara State from diploma awarding institution to a degree awarding institution and for related matter. This bill was read for the first time on this Allo chamber on Tuesday, 27th of April, 2021. Mr. President, my respected distinguished colleagues, let me use this opportunity to highlight the background of the bill, which I believe will not only justify this laudable legislative initiative, but will also motivate this chamber and indeed the National Assembly to accelerate the legislative process in passing this bill into law. Background. The persistent acute shortage of available admission slots to Nigerian universities for students in this catchment area seeking to get a degree in different courses is frustrating. According to JAM, only a few qualified applicants usually secure admission to study in Nigerian universities due to limited vacancies available. This challenge calls for establishment of more universities to cater for the demand of qualified applicants from this zone. The Federal Polytechnic of Kwara is a Nigerian tertiary institution located in Kwara State. It was established in 1992 during the administration of Ibrahim Babangida. The Polytechnic offers National Diploma and Higher National Diploma courses. The Polytechnic has graduated thousands of students in both sciences and humanity courses in diploma level and higher national diploma level. The school has high academic standard, recognized nationally and internationally. The Polytechnic has consistently been rated 8th best polytechnic in Nigeria with a population of over 10,000 students, ranked the best affiliated institution in Nigeria by National University Commission, has uninterrupted academic session, and has been anchoring IJMB program since 2018 in collaboration with Ahmadu Bello University. The proposed university sought to be established by this bill is a specialized university specifically dedicated to research and training in science, technology, and other related disciplines. Against this background, it becomes necessary for federal government to amend the Federal University of Technology Act Cap F23 laws of Federation of 2004 to establish Federal University of Technology of Kwara State by upgrading the Federal Polytechnic of Kwara State from diploma awarding institution to a degree awarding institution and for related matters. This legislative proposal will go a long way in addressing the acute shortage of available slots for students who want to study in Nigeria. Justification. Mr. President and respected colleagues, the justification for this upgrading of Federal Polytechnic of Kwara is as follows. The Federal Polytechnic of Kwara is already running degree programs effective from 2018-2019 academic session in affiliation with Federal University of Technology, Minna, after receiving approval to that effect from NUC. The Federal Polytechnic of Kwara has also finalized the process of affiliation with the Federal University, Oyo Ekiti, and Ladoke Akintola University of Technology, Ogbomoso. Three, the Federal Polytechnic of Kwara
has a land mass of 1,000 hectares, of which 27% of it is presently put into use with good road networks and 10% of it tarred, and 3,000 hostel capacity. The Federal Polytechnic Offer has many competent and capable lecturers to train students in the field of science and humanity courses. It presently has 50 PhD holders as lecturers, and in addition to more than 40 of its lecturers presently in the process of obtaining PhD in various fields. 5, the Federal Polytechnic Offer is blessed with modern infrastructure facilities such as adequate water, lecture theater, well-equipped libraries, standard medical center, entrepreneurship center, etc. Very supportive host community, and the needed human resources to immediately commence academic session after the conversion to Federal University of Technology. Objective. The objective of legislature proposal include to upgrade Federal Polytechnic Offer from a diploma awarding institution to degree awarding institution, provide courses of instruction and other facilities in different disciplines of pursuit of learning in all its branches, and to make those facilities available on proper time to such persons as are equipped to benefit from them. Encourages and promotes scholarship and conducts research in restricted field of learning and human endeavor. Relates its activities to the socio-cultural and economic needs of the people of Nigeria, and undertake other activities appropriate for the highest standard of medical education. The federal government of Nigeria will not incur additional costs in converting the Federal Polytechnic Offer to a Federal University of Technology. Mr. President, my distinguished colleagues, I hereby urge you to support this legislative proposal. Thank you all.
Senator Wamako.
Thank you, Mr. President, and my dear colleagues. I ask to support this bill on the following grounds, Mr. President. One, the arguments contained in the bill were well presented and very much to the standard. Two, sir, the Polytechnic has already all that it takes to be a university is already available in that university, so there isn't much problem in converting into a university. Three, the request is merely a formality, formalized from Polytechnic to a university just by merely maybe naming and making a few changes. Otherwise, the structural requirements, land requirement, all other requirements are virtually there. So it's merely a formality, Mr. President. So I do support the bill as presented by my dear colleagues. I so submit, Mr. President. Thank you.
Senator Suleiman Kwari.
Thank you, Mr. President, distinguished colleagues. I rise to support this bill that seeks to upgrade the Polytechnic Offer to a degree awarding institution. Mr. President, the craving of having a university degree by our youth supports this initiative. And especially having a University of Technology further reinvigorate the reason for having a university within that region would go in a long way to addressing this issue of scarcity of positions whenever university is being applied for amongst our youth. This craving will go a long way in ensuring that there are positions or opportunities for our students to be admitted when this polytechnic is upgraded. And we know the area being canvassed for is known for its scholarship, and giving them this opportunity will ensure that more of the indigents of that particular area especially, and the nation at large, is given, or they are given opportunity to attend University of Technology as is being proposed. And employability of our youth is also another factor to be considered here, because the whole world is now shifting emphasis to technology. And the more we make this youth of ours obtain skills that will make them employable in a global world that we have today, the better for the country. So I support this initiative in its entirety and urge my colleagues to also give the necessary support to ensure that this bill is read a second time, Mr. President.
Is anybody against the bill? Those in favor that this bill be now read a second time, say aye. Those against, say nay. The ayes have it. Clerk of the Senate.
Mr. President, distinguished senators, a bill for an act to amend the Federal Universities of Technology Act, Cap F 23, Laws of the Federation of Nigeria 2004, to establish the Federal University of Technology of Kwara State by upgrading the Federal Polytechnic of and for other related matters 2021 SB 702, second reading.
A bill for an act to amend the Federal Universities of Technology Act, Cap F23, Laws of the Federation of Nigeria 2004, to establish the Federal University of Technology of Kwara State by upgrading the Federal Polytechnic of and for other related matters 2021, second reading, and the bill is referred to the Committee on Tertiary Institutions and TED Fund and to report back within 4 weeks. Leader of the Senate.
Mr. President, my highly respected and distinguished colleagues, the fourth order of the day is the second reading of Terrorism Prevention Act 2013 Amendment Bill 2021. Distinguished senators will recall that the bill was read the first time in this distinguished chamber on Wednesday, 10th March 2021. Mr. President, you may wish to invite distinguished Senator Ezenwa Francis Onyewuchi to move the motion for the bill to be read the second time.
Distinguished Senator Ezenwa Onyewuchi.
Thank you, Mr. President, distinguished colleagues. My name is Ezenwa Onyewuchi, and I represent Imo East Senatorial District. Mr. President, my highly respected colleagues, permit me to lead the debate on this very important bill titled Terrorism Prevention Amendment Bill 2021. This bill was read for the first time in this hallowed chamber on the 10th of March 2021. Mr. President, my distinguished colleagues, this bill seeks to amend the Terrorism Prevention Act 2013 to outlaw the payment of ransom to abductors, kidnappers, and terrorists for the release of any person who has been wrongfully confined, imprisoned, or kidnapped, and other related matters. Essentially, this bill seeks to substitute for Section 14 of the Principal Act a new section to read, anyone who transfers funds, makes payment, or colludes with an abductor, kidnapper, or terrorist to receive any ransom for the release of any person who has been wrongfully confined, imprisoned, or kidnapped is guilty of a felony and is liable on conviction to a term of imprisonment of not less than 15 years. Mr. President, my distinguished colleagues, Hostage taking or kidnapping has become a fast and lucrative business in Nigeria. It has now remained the most virulent form of banditry in Nigeria and the most pervasive and intractable violent crime in the country. Kidnapping is on the increase in Nigeria, and it is prevalent across all the geopolitical zones. Some blame the rise of this criminal activity on poverty, religion, politics, deficiency of existing laws, unemployment, connivance of security agents, corruption, greed, among others. Our unemployed youths are also turning to kidnapping to get money as a survival strategy. Whatever the reason, it is most obvious that kidnapping in Nigeria puts everybody at risk, the rich and the poor, old and young, male and female, foreigner and indigent, expatriate and non-expatriate, traditional rulers, religious leaders, among others. A report compiled by the Financial Times and the USA Global Risk Consultancy in November 2019 indicates that Nigeria has the highest rate of kidnap for ransom of both local and foreigners in all of Africa, with kidnappers operating in each of its 36 states. The scourge of this menace has continued to persist till today. The reason behind payment of ransom is rooted on the fact that people easily identify with individual suffering. However, history has shown that even where ransom is proven to have been paid, the life or safe return of a kidnapped victim may not be guaranteed. The former Inspector General of Police, IGP Arase, once stated that the payment of ransom is counterproductive to the effort to check in kidnapping in the country. He states, and I quote, "As a law enforcement agency guided by rule of law and professional ethics, we do not under any circumstance encourage the payment of ransom to kidnappers or other criminals, as it is tantamount to rewarding crime and motivating other criminals to follow that path." The former Inspector General of Police called on Nigerians to desist from paying ransom to kidnappers, but should, on the contrary, provide adequate information to the police to enable them to do their job. Countries like the United States of America and the United Kingdom do not support payment of ransoms. Payment of terrorist ransom is illegal under the UK Terrorism Act 2000, while the USA adheres to a strict no concessions policy on the policy of ransom. The logic behind this position is as simple as it is compelling. In the words of David Cohen, a U.S. Treasury Department official involved in U.S. policy against terrorist financing, ransom payments lead to future kidnappings, and future kidnappings lead to additional ransom payment, and it all builds the capacity of terrorist organizations to conduct attacks. Mr. President, my distinguished colleagues, gut-wrenching as it may be, the wisest thing for government to do would be to keep an eye on statistics, because these show that buying out one victim strengthens and encourages abductors, kidnappers, and terrorist organizations, and thus puts many more people at risk. The continuous payment of ransom must not be encouraged. In addition, government should provide adequate security and strengthen the economy as a matter of urgency, accelerate its poverty alleviation programs, provide employment opportunities targeting youths who are mostly involved in abductions and kidnapping, strengthen our law enforcement agencies, and provide the necessary support to end the menace of kidnapping. Mr. President, distinguished colleagues, the proposed amendment discourages the payment of ransom in order to mitigate the rising scourge of kidnapping as it persists today. I therefore urge you to support the second reading of this bill and this legislative proposal. I so submit.
Senator Alero.
Thank you, Mr. President. Distinguished colleagues, let me start by thanking my colleague, Senator Ejonwa, for sponsoring this bill. Payment of ransom is counterproductive in preventing kidnapping and terrorism in Nigeria.
the more ransom you pay, the more likely you are to have terrorists and bandits, harassing you. If you don't pay the ransom, it will discourage the kidnappers, it will discourage the terrorists, and eventually the captives will be released. But Mr. President, going beyond that, we need to also strengthen the law enforcement agencies so that they can track the bandits and the terrorists, so that we can immediately get the people that are kidnapped released immediately. A situation where you have people that are being kidnapped and kept in a particular place for more than 30 and 40 days. And our security agents are not able to get them released, called to question. With the use of technology, they can easily be tracked and be apprehended. But we don't do that, Mr. President. And that's why people go extra mile to get money, to get their relatives released. So payment of ransom is not good. But at the same time, we should encourage the security agents to use technology to track the bandits or the terrorists so that they can easily be arrested and be prosecuted. I believe if we do that, it will go a long way in solving the problem of insurgency, terrorism, and banditry in Nigeria. So the bill is good, I support it, and I urge all my colleagues to do the same. Thank you very much.
Is anybody against the bill? Those in favor that this bill be now read a second time, say aye. Those against, say nay. The ayes have it. Clerk of the Senate.
Mr. President, distinguished senators, a bill for an act to amend the Terrorism Prevention Act 2013 and for other matters connected there to 2021, SB 662, second reading.
A bill for an act to amend the Terrorism Prevention Act 2013 and for other matters connected there to 2021, second reading taken, and the bill is referred to the Committee on Judiciary, Human Rights and Legal Matters to report back within 4 weeks. Leader of the Senate.
Mr. President, my highly respected and distinguished colleagues, the fifth order of the day is the second reading of National Energy Bill 2021. Distinguished senators will recall that the bill was read the first time in this distinguished chamber on Tuesday, 15th October 2019. Mr. President, we wish to invite distinguished Senator Ibrahim Gobir to move the motion for the bill to be read the second time.
Distinguished Senator Ibrahim Abdullahi Gobir.
Thank you very much, Your Excellency, distinguished colleagues. The lead debate on the National Energy Bill 2021 SB 81, sponsored by me. Your Excellency, distinguished colleagues, energy is a common currency, not only in Nigeria, but all over the world, because without energy, there will be no growth and development in the world. Developed countries are moving progressively today because they have adequate energy to play with, and those countries that are struggling with energy problems are virtually behind because they cannot cope up with their energy challenges and demands. The bill was read for the first time in this hallowed chamber on Tuesday, 15th October 2019. Nigeria is certainly the giant of Africa in terms of all the resources you can think of. It is also the most populous black nation on earth and the most resourceful of all the countries in Africa. But when it comes to the issue of energy, the country is certainly one of the least because the energy is not enough to go around in this country. Hence, the need to have this energy bill that will consider all the various energy sources we have in this country and advise on its effective and efficient utilization. Reasons for our backwardness in energy. Your Excellency, distinguished colleagues, Nigeria today is backward in energy because it has refused to utilize its abundant energy resources and the right energy mix, particularly in producing electricity for the country. It is important to know that the level of energy utilization in an economy, coupled with the efficient energy conversion of these energy resources for useful purposes, is directly proportional to the level of development of that economy. It is also an indicator of its ability to overcome all the likely challenges associated with the use of energy. Nigeria, with its abundant energy resources, cannot allow itself to be left behind in the use and exploitation of this very important commodity. Nigeria is supposed to be the main energy producer in Africa, but unfortunately cannot even supply its own energy needs, talk less of giving other smaller countries in Africa. This is simply because we somehow either refuse to develop or do not have the political will to develop it. However, with this energy bill, I'm confident that Nigeria should and must develop its energy base and get out of the present cogment. I also believe that with this present government of change, under the able leadership of President Buhari, there will be that political will needed to pursue this energy bill strictly. Structure of the bill. This bill is structured into 12 sections, with each section well explained in detail to ensure effective and efficient utilization of each source of energy. The first part of the bill deals with the objectives of the bill, and the remaining sections deal with development and exploration of each energy source and how to achieve its potential in terms of short, medium, and long-term objectives. The energy sources and other related topics are as follows: petroleum product, coal, tar sand, and bitumen, nuclear energy, renewable energy, bioenergy, electrical energy, energy utilization, energy efficient and conservation, environmental, climate change, and other energy issues, energy financing, planning and implementation, and lastly, the use of hydro to produce electricity. In addition to the responsibilities of government, have been spelled out in order to achieve full potentials of each energy source. This has become necessary so that local, private sector, and the international communities will know that what the government will do to provide necessary incentives that will attract them to invest in the sector. Private sector, both local and international, will be involved to ensure efficiency and the rapid development of the particular energy source because they are the main drivers of the economy. There is no financial implication on this bill since the agency that is to monitor the implementation of this bill is already in place, which is the National Energy Commission of Nigeria. Your Excellency, distinguished colleagues, this bill is important because it is going to revolutionize our energy sector for our economy to move faster and foster growth and development. I therefore call on all my colleagues to support it because it can be, so that it can be given speedy coverage. The whole idea in the bill is that we have energy mix, and that we have to make sure at each mix or at each sector, we will say we want a certain percentage of that energy to be produced so that we can have the required electricity in this country. I so move. Your Excellency. Thank you.
Senator Ali.
Thank you, Mr. President, distinguished colleagues. I rise to second the second reading of this bill for the following reasons. Mr. President, we have been spending a lot of money to develop our power sector. And the more we spend, the less we get. From 1999 to date, we have invested close to about $40 billion to improve our power supply to improve our power generation, transmission, and distribution. But we are nowhere where we want to be. So this bill, to me, is important because it will certainly bring change in what Nigeria is trying to get. That is uninterrupted power supply. If we start using other sources of energy, like wind energy, bioenergy, even waste, we can convert waste to energy, as stated in the lead debate. It will go a long way in solving our problem of power generation and power supply. So this bill is important, and I want to urge my colleagues to support it because it will revolutionize the power sector or the energy sector in this country. All we need to do is to start using all the aspects of what he stated: petroleum product, coal tar, sand and bitumen, nuclear energy, which we are currently trying to utilize, renewable energy, bioenergy, electrical energy. And the only thing we are doing now today is hydropower and fuel. That's all. Very little on solar energy. So I urge my colleagues to support this bill to go for second reading, and I hope it will scale through. Thank you very much.
Is anybody against the bill? Those in favor that this bill be now read a second time, say aye. Those against, say nay. Clerk of the Senate.
Mr. President, distinguished senators, a bill for an act to provide for the legal, fiscal, and regulatory framework for the sustainable energy development with the overall objective of providing clean, affordable, adequate, and reliable energy in Nigeria 2021 SB 81, second reading.
A bill for an act to provide for legal, fiscal, and regulatory framework for the sustainable energy development with the overall objective of providing clean, affordable, adequate, and reliable energy in Nigeria 2021, second reading taken, and the bill is referred to the Senate Committees on Science and Technology and Power, with Science and Technology as the lead committee. Leader of the Senate.
Mr. President, my highly respected and distinguished colleagues, the sixth order of the day is the presentation and consideration of the report of the Joint Committee on Communications, ICT, and Cyber Crimes on Primary Health Care and Communicable Diseases on the status of the 5G network in Nigeria and its technological impact on Nigerian citizens. Mr. President, you may wish to invite distinguished Senator Oluremi Shade Tinubu to remove the motion for the Senate to receive and consider the report.
Distinguished Senator Oluremi Tinubu.
Thank you, Mr. President and distinguished colleagues. My name is Oluremi Tinubu, representing Lagos Central Senatorial District. I rise to move the motion that the Senate do receive and consider the report of the Joint Committee on Communications, Science and Technology, ICT, and Cyber Crimes, and Primary Health Care and Communicable Diseases on the investigation of the status of 5G network in Nigeria and its technological impact on Nigerian citizens. I so move, Mr. President.
Senator Nora Ladi Dadut.
Thank you, Mr. President. Distinguished colleagues, my name is Senator Nora Ladi Dadut, representing Plateau South. I rise to second the motion moved by Senator Oluremi Tinubu. I so second.
Distinguished colleagues, those in favor of the motion that the Senate do receive and consider the report of our Joint Committee on Communications, ICT, and Cyber Crimes and Primary Health Care and Communicable Diseases, say aye. Those against, say nay. The ayes have it. Chairman, may lead the report. You may present the report. I don't know whether there is an executive report, something summarizing, or okay.
It's a very bulky report, so I'm going to summarize. I wanted to also create the indulgence of the Senate. I'll start with just a brief introduction, and then I'll move on to not even recommendations. It's a well-detailed report, and it's just very bulky. I think and the recommendations also touch on parts of the findings. The Senate of the Federal Republic of Nigeria, at its sitting on Tuesday, 5th May 2020, resolved to mandate its joint committees on communications, science and technology, primary health care and communicable diseases, and ICT and cyber crimes to conduct a thorough investigation on the status of 5G network in Nigeria and its technological impact on Nigerian citizens, and referred same to the Joint Committee for further legislative action pursuant to Section 88 and 89 of the 1999 Constitution of the Federal Republic of Nigeria. So since I've craved the indulgence of the Senate, to move on to recommendations, because in the recommendations we can still find part of the taking care of what happened in the findings. But it's a very detailed report, and I would also ask my colleagues to go into them. It's quite, we did quite to the glory of all the subcommittees, we did quite a good job, if I may say. Recommendations. Having carefully taken into account the immense socio-economic and technological impact of 5G over other previous generations of network, the overwhelming aggregate of favorable opinions for majority of stakeholders for its deployment, coupled with the fact that same has been successfully deployed in more advanced countries. The Joint Committee hereby shares the recommendations of very sensitive government establishments such as the Federal Ministry of Communications and Digital Economy, the Nigerian Communications Commission, the Office of the National Security Advisor, the National Information Technology Development Agency, etc., and other telecoms professional organizations such as the Association of Telecommunications Company of Nigeria, ATCON, Association of Licensed Telecommunications Operators of Nigeria, ALTAN, and the Global System of Mobile Communications Association, that it is appropriate for Nigeria to join the Committee of Nations that are engaged in the deployment of 5G for all its inherent gains. Though there is still a fair bit of work to be done towards creating the required environment and support ecosystem for 5G development in Nigeria, the Joint Committee is convinced that having witnessed what has been achieved by its lesser ancestors such as 3G and 4G, the technological impact of 5G will be such that will revolutionize Nigerians' way of life, from education to agriculture, security to entertainment, and governance in general if the technology is deployed. While the Joint Committee clarifies that there is no 5G deployment in Nigeria at the moment, and that no license has been issued to any mobile number operator on commercial basis, it is a recommendation that Nigeria should still observe the trend of 5G deployments around the globe and engage in extensive sensitization of the public through all channels before commencement of commercial deployments in Nigeria. Relevant government agencies are also urged to embark on preparing the ground for putting the necessary infrastructure and technology in place for its eventual deployment. This period of ground preparation is expected to be utilized to complete feasibility studies for the various broadband projects in order to ascertain actual cost implications for their implementation, complete sustainability plans, provide enabling environment, including free right-of-way, tax waivers, sustainable power supply, improve security of men, materials, and equipment, eliminate multiple regulations and charges, recognize telecommunications infrastructure as public utility infrastructure, and engender public trust and confidence. The Joint Committee further recommends that global standards for the deployment of 5G technology should be strictly adhered to, while looking out for lessons learned by countries that have already deployed in order to guide our own deployment. Lessons from South Korea, the first country with substantial deployment, will be instructive in this regard. It is imperative that intense safety standards and precautions based on available evidence are put in place for wireless radiation systems ahead of wide-scale implementation. Furthermore, given the infancy of the technology across the globe and the claims and counterclaims surrounding the possibility of health injury being posed to public health by the level of exposure to radio frequency, it is recommended that further attention should be given to testing and researching potential health risks that may arise from the deployment of 5G network in Nigeria, considering real-life situation rather than just laboratory conditions. The Joint Committee urged the Federal Ministry of Communications and Digital Economy to expedite the action of the committee put in place to develop consultation document for the deployment of 5G in Nigeria, which will include planning spectrum identified for 5G with the input of all relevant stakeholders, such as the relevant committees of the National Assembly and security agencies. The Federal Ministry of Communications and Digital Economy is also urged to publish the outcome of the work of its Technical Advisory Committee charged to advise on emerging technologies and products, and as a matter of urgency, build the national backbone which will run from Lagos to Katsina, Trans-Saharan optic fiber network, to move much of the bandwidth from the shore to the hinterland and for distribution to the geopolitical zones. Despite the almost general consensus concerning the harmlessness of 5G to human health, the Joint Committee hereby recommends that the Nigerian Communications Commission, in collaboration with the mobile network operators, Federal Ministry of Health, Federal Ministry of Science and Technology, Federal Ministry of Environment, and the Nigerian Center for Disease Control, among others, should locally conduct a scientific experimental study over a period of about 6 months to ascertain if a correlation exists between 5G networks and public health. Also, concerning the interaction between COVID-19 and 5G network technologies, the Joint Committee confirms and is convinced that there is no connection between them. The ongoing COVID-19 pandemic is caused by a biological agent, a virus, which is scientifically connected with the 5G technology. Responding to rumors across the world that link COVID-19 to 5G, the International Commission on Non-Iodizing Radiation Protection, ICNIRP, stated thus, I quote, "The claim that exposure to electromagnetic field generated by 5G can both cause COVID-19 and increase its severity are not supported by any evidence, not even extremely weak evidence, and the large body of scientific knowledge regarding the electromagnetic fields relevant to 5G demonstrates that those claims are not feasible." While appreciating the concern of the Office of the National Security Advisor over the national security implication of 5G technology deployments, the Joint Committee hereby recommends, as postulated by the Office of the National Security Advisor, the establishment of an interagency working group comprising of the Office of the National Security Advisor, the Nigerian Communications Commission, the Federal Ministry of Communications and Digital Economy, and other relevant stakeholders to assess and address all the national security concerns highlighted in paragraph 9.14 and develop necessary risk management framework that will ensure that future deployment of the technology will be done in a manner that protects Nigeria's national security interests. Conclusion. Mr. President, distinguished senators, the Joint Committee expresses profound gratitude for the opportunity to undertake this all-important national assignment, as I move that the Senate do approve the recommendations of the Joint Committee. I so move, Mr. President. Thank you, sir. Thank you, sir.
Thank you. Any comments? Leader of the Senate.
Mr. President, my highly respected and distinguished colleagues, I just rise to extend my commendations, to the chairman of the committees and to the chairman of the joint chairman for a very thorough and detailed and highly commendable report. I've been going through reports in the Senate, and I think this one is one of the best that we have received. And I hope, that this distinguished chamber will give this report and the recommendations contained in it the closest attention that is possible. The issues that have been raised and the recommendations that have been provided are not only far-reaching, but I think very fundamental to the development of our country. And I think after going through this, it will be very, very important if we draw the attention of the federal government, particularly the Ministry of Communication and Digital Economy and several other security and other related institutions that have been mentioned in this report, to the contents of this report, so that it can be actioned upon. And a lot of the recommendations that have been put up by this committee implemented by the relevant agencies. I wish to sincerely commend the hard work that has gone into producing this report and recommend that a lot of the recommendations that it contains should be acted upon. Thank you very much, Mr. President.
Well, distinguished colleagues, let's go to the recommendations. Recommendation is on page 63. It starts from page 63 of the report. Those in favor of recommendation 1, that is 10.1, say aye. Those against, say nay. The ayes have it. Those in favor of recommendation 2, say aye. Those against, say nay. The ayes have it. Those in favor of recommendation 3, say aye. Those against, say nay. The ayes have it. Those in favor of recommendation 4, say aye. Those against, say nay. The ayes have it. Those in favor of recommendation 5, say aye. Those against, say nay. The ayes have it. Those in favor of recommendation 6, say aye. Those against, say nay. The ayes have it. Those in favor of recommendation 7, say aye. Those against, say nay. The ayes have it. Those in favor of recommendation 8, say aye. Those against, say nay. The ayes have it. Those in favor of recommendation 9, say aye. Those against, say nay. The ayes have it. Those in favor of recommendation 10, say aye. Those against, say nay. The ayes have it. Those in favor of recommendation 11, say aye. Those against, say nay. The ayes have it. Thank you very much, distinguished colleagues. And let me also join the leader of the Senate in commending the committee, the joint committee, for a very thorough job, and will advise that those responsible for introducing the 5G technology to us should take cognizance of what we have passed today. They should go through our recommendations. I read somewhere about 2 weeks ago that the federal government is going ahead with the 5G. I am sure that there is need for very careful consideration of recommendations like this by those in authority, so that we get it right and we should learn our lessons from those who have already deployed the technology. On the whole, the joint committee has really done a very good job, and I want to commend you for that. Leader of the Senate.
Mr. President, my highly respected and distinguished colleagues, I have looked around the chamber and found that the presenter of the 7th and 8th order of the day is unfortunately not around. Therefore, I would like to move a motion for this distinguished chamber to step down the consideration of the 7th and 8th. Oh. Okay.
Sir. Senator Nora, I don't know whether that's...
Okay, you are going to take the call. So who will take the 7th? Huh? Who will present the one on your 1, 2, and 3. Okay. All right. So I'm sorry, I think the chairman has asked one of our colleagues to stand in for him. Therefore, I will start with the 7th order of the day, and that is the presentation and consideration of the report of the Committee on Tertiary Education and TED Fund on the Federal University of Technology Yaba Establishment Bill 2021. Mr. President, you may wish the distinguished senator will recall that the bill was referred to the Committee on Tertiary Education and TED Fund on Tuesday, 3rd March 2020. Mr. President, you may wish to invite distinguished Senator Nora Dadut, representing Senator Ahmed Babaketa, the chairman of the committee, to move the motion for the presentation and consideration of this report. I so move.
Distinguished Senator Nora Ladi Dadut.
Thank you, Mr. President. Distinguished members, my name is Senator Nora Ladi Dadut, representing Plateau South. I rise to move a motion on behalf of the chairman of the Committee on Tertiary and I am supposed to read the report presented to this humble house on his behalf. I so move.
I need a seconder. Senator Geshambasi.
Thank you, Mr. President. Geshambasi, Cross River South. I support my distinguished colleague.
Distinguished colleagues, those in favor of the motion that the Senate do receive and consider the report of our Committee on TED Fund and Tertiary Institutions, say aye. Those against, say nay. The ayes have it. Distinguished, you may lead the report. Distinguished Prof, you can present the report, but maybe, okay. It's all right, go ahead.
Thank you, Mr. President. Distinguished colleagues, this is a report of the Senate Committee on Tertiary Institutions and TED Fund on a bill for an act to provide for the establishment of the Federal University of Technology, Yaba, and for other matters connected therewith. SB 85. I read. The Senate, at its plenary on Thursday, 10th of October 2019, debated on the general principles of the bill for the upgrade of Yaba College of Technology to a full-fledged Federal University of Technology, Yaba, to make comprehensive provisions for its due management and administration, which was sponsored by Senator Solomon Olameleka Adiola. After extensive deliberations, the bill was read for the second time and referred to the Senate Committee on Tertiary Institutions and TED Fund for further legislative action. Bid Senate Order of Referral dated Thursday, 3rd December 2020, and to report back with its recommendations. Mr. President, allow me to go straight to the summary and the recommendations mentioned. On page 3, we have the summary, legislative summary. Mr. President, distinguished colleagues, at this juncture, I wish to inform you that the committee has critically scrutinized the provisions of the bill vis-à-vis presentations made by stakeholders and strongly believe that the bill is of tremendous benefits for technological advancement of the nation in so many different ways, such as providing employment opportunities for the host communities and other qualified Nigerians, as well as provide enabling environments for graduates from the envisaged upgrade to Federal University of Technology, Yaba, to compete favorably with their counterparts from around the world. The committee also carried out adjustments on the bill ranging from amendment of clauses, editorial corrections, identification of pitfalls, lacunas, and breached same to conform to best standard in legislation. The committee advised lecturers of Yaba College of Technology to go for further degree as precursor to the envisaged upgrade with a view to overcoming challenges of displacement during regularization exercise as the college upgrade to a full-fledged university, Federal University of Technology, Yaba. Now, I beg your permission, Mr. President, to go to the recommendations. Mr. President, distinguished colleagues, the Senate Committee on Tertiary Institutions and TED Fund, to which this bill was referred, having carefully considered same, hereby recommends as follows. 1, that the Senate do consider and pass the bill for the upgrade of Yaba College of Technology to a full-fledged Federal University of Technology, Yaba, to make comprehensive provisions for its due management and administration, Bill 2021, as recommended. And in conclusion, I wish, on behalf of the committee, to use this opportunity to thank Mr. President and distinguished colleagues for the opportunity to serve in this capacity, that is the chairman, and to humbly request the Senate to pass this bill. I so move, Mr. President.
Leader of the Senate.
Mr. President, my highly respected and distinguished colleagues, I rise to make an observation that the item 7 and 8 on the order paper are all dealing with the establishment of university. With your permission, I would like to move a motion for us to consider the two items together so that we can have one committee of the whole on the two of them so that we don't have to treat them separately. So I would like, with the permission of this chamber, to move a motion for the consideration of these two bills, under one committee of the whole, so that we can be able to utilize to the best of our ability time that is at our own disposal. I so move, Mr. President.
Leader, I think we don't need to put the question on this. We can ask her just to present. It's not a major thing. Distinguished Professor, you can present the second distance so that we... But we need to distribute the copies. Sorry? No, it's okay. You move the motion and then we get someone to second it, then you lay it. The second one.
Mr. President, distinguished colleagues, I rise again to move the motion on behalf of the chairman of the committee, Senate Committee on Tertiary Institutions, that the report of the Senate Committee on Tertiary Institutions and Third Fund on a bill for an act to produce for the establishment of the Federal University Birnin Kebbi State to ensure equity and access to tertiary education in the country. The university is a conventional university with restricted programs, limited and focused faculties, and for other matters connected therewith. I so move, Mr. President.
Senator Koyaki.
Thank you, Mr. President. I'm Senator Apone Yahin, representing Kwebon South Senatorial District. I rise to second the motion ably moved by my sister that the report of the Senate Committee on Tertiary Institution and Third Fund on bill for an act to produce the establishment of the Federal University, Birnin Kebbi, be accepted, to be laid. I so second.
Thank you very much. Distinguished colleagues, those in favor of the motion that the Senate do receive and consider the report of our Committee on Tertiary Institutions and Third Fund, say aye. Those against, say nay. The ayes have it. You lay the report, please. You are really having an exercise. You present the report, please.
Thank you, Mr. President. The Senate, report of the Senate Committee on Tertiary Institutions and Third Fund on a bill for an act to produce for the establishment of the Federal University Building Kebbi State to ensure equity and access to tertiary education in the country. The university is a conventional university with restricted program, limited and focused faculties, and for other matters connected therewith. I read, the Senate at its plenary on Wednesday, 5th February 2020, debated on the general principles of the bill for the establishment of the Federal University Building Kebbi State to make comprehensive provisions for its due management and administration, which was sponsored by Senator Mohammed Adamu Alero. After extensive deliberations, the bill was read for the second time and referred to the Senate Committee on Tertiary Institutions and Third Fund for further legislative action, vid. Senate Order of Referral dated Thursday, 20th February 2020, and to report back with its recommendations. Mr. President, again, I will just go to the recommendations. First of all, I will want to read the legislative summary and then the recommendations. Legislative summary, page 3. Mr. President, distinguished colleagues, at this juncture, I wish to inform you that the committee has critically scrutinized the provisions of the bill vis-a-vis presentations made by stakeholders were harmonized to enable smooth passage of this bill. Also, the committee found the bill worthy, and therefore it has strong belief that it is of immense benefits to the general public. Accordingly, the committee has also carried out partial amendments on the bill, which ranges from adjustment of clauses, provisions of new insertions were made to calibrate the content of the bill to context and relative equilibrium with a view to balancing it. Similarly, it has made redraft and editorial corrections, identified pitfalls, lacunas, and bridged same to conform to the best normative cultural standard in legislation. I think, Mr. President, it may interest us to know the findings and observations. From the views expressed by the stakeholders at the public hearing and subsequent analysis of both oral and written presentations of memoranda, the committee hereby makes the following observations and findings. 1. The stakeholders who made both written and oral submissions at the public hearing unanimously subscribed to the content of the draft bill and rendered their overwhelming social solidarity in support of the passage of the bill by the National Assembly. 2. The establishment of the Federal University Building Kebbi will no doubt provide the required manpower that Nigeria needs in the areas of geosciences and technology and general agricultural practices as a boost for the exploration of solid minerals, scientific and social knowledge in promotion of cutting-edge research in Nigeria and beyond. 3. The knowledge and skills that would be acquired by the graduates from the envisaged Act of the National Assembly will definitely go a long way in expanding and deepening the horizon of the students in geosciences, exploration of solid minerals, and general agricultural practices, thereby contributing to the nation's GDP and increase revenue base of Nigeria, and consequentially contributing to national integration and social progress of the multicultural young people of this country. Hence, the need for the Senate to consider and approve this legislative proposal for the benefit of humanity in general and Nigeria as a nation in particular. Recommendations. Mr. President, the recommendations here state that the Senate Committee on Tertiary Institutions and State Fund, to which this bill was referred, having carefully considered same hereby, recommends as follows: that the Senate do consider and pass the bill for the establishment of the Federal University building Kebbi State to ensure equity and access to tertiary education as conventionally university with restricted programs, limited and focused faculties, and for other matters connected therewith, Bill 2021 as recommended. In conclusion, Mr. President, distinguished colleagues, I, that is the chairman of this committee, wish to use this opportunity to thank the President of the Senate and distinguished colleagues for the opportunity to serve in this capacity and to humbly request the Senate to pass this bill. I so move. Thank you, Mr. President.
Any comments or observations? Leader of the Senate, Committee of the Whole.
Mr. President, my highly respected and distinguished colleagues, I rise to move a motion for the Senate to resolve in the Committee of the Whole to consider these two reports. I so move.
Minority Leader.
Thank you, Mr. President. I so second.
Distinguished colleagues, those in favor of the motion that the Senate resolves into Committee of the Whole to consider the reports close by close, say aye. Those against, say nay. The ayes have it. Now, distinguished colleagues, these two bills are just to establish institutions, and therefore they are not controversial. So be a little bit fast with them. Those in favor that clauses 1 to 5 stand part of the bill, say aye. Those against, say nay. The ayes have it. Those in favor that clauses 6 to 10 stand part of the bill, say aye. Those against, say nay. The ayes have it. Those in favor that clauses 11 to 15 stand part of the bill, say aye. Those against, say nay. The ayes have it. Those in favor that clauses 16, 17, 18, 19, and 20 stand part of the bill, say aye. Those against, say nay. The ayes have it. Those in favor that clauses 21 to 25 stand part of the bill, say aye. Those against, say nay. The ayes have it. Those in favor that clauses 26 to 30 stand part of the bill, say aye. Those against, say nay. The ayes have it. Those in favor that clauses 31 and 32 stand part of the bill, say aye. Those against, say nay. The ayes have it. Those in favor that the interpretation stands part of the bill, say aye. Those against, say nay. The ayes have it. Those in favor that the short title stands part of the bill, say aye. Those against, say nay. The ayes have it. Those in favor that the schedule stand part of the bill, say aye. Those against say nay. The ayes have it. Those in favor that the explanatory memorandum stand part of the bill say aye. Those against say nay. The ayes have it. Those in favor that the long title stands part of the bill say aye. Those against say nay. The ayes have it. Thank you. Then the second report. We are on the second report. Those in favor that clauses 1 to 5 stand part of the bill say aye. Those against say nay. The ayes have it. Those in favor that clauses 6, 7, 8, and 9 and 10 stand part of the bill say aye. Those against say nay. The ayes have it. Those in favor that clauses 11 to 15 stand part of the bill say aye. Those against say nay. The ayes have it. Those in favor that clauses 16 to 20 stand part of the bill say aye. Those against say nay. The ayes have it. Those in favor that clauses 21 to 25 stand part of the bill say aye. Those against say nay. The ayes have it. Those in favor that clauses 26, 27, 28, 29, and 30 stand part of the bill say aye. Those against say nay. The ayes have it. Those in favor that clauses 31, 32, and 33 stand part of the bill say aye. Those against say nay. The ayes have it. Those in favor that the interpretation stands part of the bill say aye. Those against say nay. The ayes have it. Those in favor that the short title stands part of the bill say aye. Those against say nay. The ayes have it. Those in favor that the schedules stand part of the bill say aye. Those against say nay. The ayes have it. Those in favor that the explanatory memorandum stands part of the bill say aye. Those against say nay. The ayes have it. Those in favor that the long title stands part of the bill say aye. Those against say nay. The ayes have it. Leader of the Senate.
My highly respected and distinguished colleagues, I rise to move a motion for this chamber to do plenary for the chairman to report progress. I so move.
Minority Leader.
Thank you, Mr. President. I so second.
Distinguished colleagues, those in favor that the Senate reverse to plenary for the chair to report progress say aye. Those against say nay. The ayes have it. The Senate and the Committee of the Whole considered the Federal University of Technology Yaba Establishment Bill 2021 and approved as follows. Long title as recommended, clauses 1 to 30 as recommended, interpretation as recommended, short title as recommended, the schedules as recommended, explanatory memorandum as recommended. Is this a true reflection of what transpired in the Committee of the Whole? The Senate in the Committee of the Whole also considered the Federal University Burning Kebbi State Establishment Bill 2021 and approved as follows. Long title as recommended, clauses 1 to 31 as recommended, interpretation as recommended, short title as recommended, schedules 1 to 2 as recommended, explanatory memorandum as recommended. Is this a true reflection of what transpired in the Committee of the Whole? Thank you. Leader of the Senate.
Mr. President, I rise to move a motion that the City University of Technology, Yaba Establishment, etc. Bill 2021 now be read the third time. I also, in addition, move that the Act for the establishment of Federal University, Benin Kebbi, also be read for the third time. I so move.
Minority Leader.
Thank you, Mr. President. I so second.
Distinguished colleagues, those in favor of the motion that the two bills be now read the third time, say aye. Those against, say nay. The ayes have it. Clerk of the Senate.
Mr. President, distinguished senators, a bill for an act to provide for the establishment of the Federal University of Technology, Yaba, and for other matters connected therewith, 2021 SB 85, third reading. Mr. President, distinguished senators, a bill for an act to establish the Federal University of Kebbi State to make comprehensive provision for its due management and administration, and for other related matters, 2021 SB 85, third reading.
A bill for an act to provide for the establishment of the Federal University of Technology, Yaba, and for other matters connected there with 2021, third reading, and the bill is passed. Congratulations. Also, a bill for an act to establish the Federal University, Kebbi State, to make comprehensive provisions for its due management and administration, and for other related matters, 2021, third reading taken, and the bill is also passed. Congratulations. Leader of the Senate.
Mr. President, my highly respected and distinguished colleagues, having come this far, I rise to move a motion for this chamber to consider stepping down on.
Leader, let's take the motions. Yeah, we take them. Distinguished Senator Peter Umabushi.
Mr. President, distinguished colleagues, my name is Senator Peter Umabushi, Delta North. Mr. President, let me thank you for saving me from the minority leader who wanted to cut my throat.
Minority Leader, did you say Minority Leader? Yeah.
Mr. President, the Senate notes that a lottery market report research drive 2021 projects that the global lottery market is expected to generate a revenue of $353.1 billion by 2026, rising from $157.7 billion in 2028. Further note that lottery in Nigeria has the potential to increase the revenue base of the country, with roughly 60 million Nigerians between the ages of 18 and 40 involved in active sports betting, while over 2 billion is spent on sports betting daily, which translates to $2.2 billion per annum. Aware that between 2018 and 2019, Nigeria was reported to have been generating 2 billion naira annually from lottery. Further aware that while Nigeria, with a population of over 200 million, generates a paltry 2 billion naira annually from lottery, Senegal, with a 12 million population, generates 200 billion CFA, about 125 billion naira annually. Ivory Coast, with a 25 million population, generates 500 billion CFA, about 312 billion annually. And Burkina Faso, with a 20 million population, generates 900 billion CFA, which translates to about
562 billion naira annually. Consigned that in line with Section 24 of the National Lottery Commission Act 2005, there has been significant revenue loss due to government from the proceeds of lottery sales in Nigeria. Further consigned that statutory remittance by lottery operators in the country, especially from the popular Ghana games, have been extremely poor and not reflective of the actual sales generated by the operators. Worried that a proposed term of settlement approved by the governing board of the National Lottery Regulatory Commission on the 1st and 2nd of June 2020, not 2021, has not been executed. Alarmed that the approved terms of settlement will aid the federal government to commence generation of high revenues from Ghana games and cure all irregularities surrounding the operations of the game in Nigeria. And further alarmed that despite a ministerial directive to the National Lottery Regulatory Commission on the 3rd of July 2020, not 2021, to execute the terms of the settlement in line with National Lottery Act 205 as amended National Lottery Amendment Law 2017. Within 7 working days, nothing has been done. Accordingly resolved to mandate the Committee on Sports to investigate the circumstances surrounding the non-execution of the terms of settlement and report back within 4 weeks. I so move.
Senator Geshambasi.
Thank you, Mr. President. Geshambasi, Cross River South. Mr. President, this motion is quite alarming. Some of the issues raised by the mover are facts that need to be investigated. And I want to commend him for this motion and support him wholeheartedly, second this motion wholeheartedly, that we should go ahead and go to the prayers and support those prayers.
Is anybody against? Okay, we go to the prayer. Accordingly, resolves to mandate the Committee on Sports to investigate the circumstances surrounding the non-execution of the terms of settlement and report back within 4 weeks. Can we say non-execution or the alleged non-execution? The lawyers. Do we say non-execution or alleged non-execution? Because if we are investigating, then we shouldn't have a predetermined position that is already a non-execution, isn't it?
Yes, sir, it should be qualified, alleged.
So you are amending it?
I know what alleged is when you are not sure. I am so sure of what I'm saying.
So why do we investigate then? Yeah, because if you know, then there's no need for investigation. We already know the outcome. Okay. So those in favor of the prayer as amended, say aye. Those against, say nay. The ayes have it. Thank you very much, distinguished Senator Peter Umobishi. I think this is a very serious matter. And now that we are looking for money, every kobo counts. So we must follow and track where the issues are. The chairman, Committee on Sports, is here already. So you start work as soon as possible. Thank you. Leader of the Senate.
Mr. President, my highly respected and distinguished colleagues, the 10th order of the day is a motion standing in the name of distinguished Senator Buhari Abdul Fatai on the urgent need to curb the dismantling of the standard narrow gauge rail lines by some disgruntled elements in Nigeria. Mr. President, you may wish to invite distinguished Senator Buhari Abdul Fatai to move his motion.
Distinguished Senator Buhari Abdul Fatai.
Thank you, Mr. President. Distinguished colleague Buhari Abdul Fatai, Oyo North. Mr. President, I move for the urgent need to curb the dismantling of standard and narrow gauge rail line by some disgruntled elements in Nigeria. that the Senate note that the railway boosted the Nigerian local content through employment of indigenous workers from various ethnic groups in the country and was therefore acknowledged as having diversified workforce. Aware that the Nigerian rail has been neglected for decades, but in recent times, the government has stepped up the rehabilitation, revitalization, reinvigoration, and construction of railway lines across the country. Acknowledges that the Warri-Itakwe standard gauge rail line was commissioned by President Muhammadu Buhari on the 23rd September, with freight service further commissioned on the 16th of April 2021. Consider that the rail transport system is the most effective, affordable, energy-saving, and environmentally friendly form of transportation. Also consider that the economic level of traffic can be consolidated to enable the railway provide efficient services for high-density flow of homogeneous traffic over relatively long distance, particularly the high volume of containerized cargo or bulk freight, such as oil and gas, coal, steel, and agricultural products. Concerned that recently some unscrupulous person damaged, vandalized, and maliciously cut some portion of the newly constructed Warri-Itakwe rail line at about 30 kilometers in Adogo, Kogi State. Aware that the Niger State, the Nigerian police force intercepted truck loaded with rail track and pieces of rail slipper along Katangari Mina Road. Alarm that the newly completed Lagos-Ibadan rail line was vandalized in 2019, where clips, bolt, knot of the rail track were carted away. Further alarm that the same incident of theft of rail clips that hold the slipper and the rail together happened in Zaria, Kaduna State, even as it will be recalled that in May this year, a train loaded with water pipe from Lagos to Zaria derailed along Kanawa Aziz opposite Sultan Bello Mosque in Kaduna due to vandal activities. And worry that all aforementioned rail vandalism can cause acute train mishap, resulting in the loss of precious life, which is tantamount to murder and destruction of property. Accordingly resolved, urge the federal government, particularly the Ministry of Transport and relevant security agencies, to ensure that the perpetrators, including the saboteurs, are charged for economic sabotage with maximum punishment without option of fine. 2, urge the relevant authority, including the Nigerian Railway Corporation, to engage the services of local security guard along all the rail lines in the country. Mandate the Committee on Police Affairs to liaise with the hierarchy of Nigerian Police Force and the National Security Civil Defense Corps to work out modality towards regular patrol and surveillance of the rail track within the country. I so move, Mr. President.
Senator Abraham Gover.
Thank you very much, Your Excellency. Distinguished colleagues, this is a very serious issue. Because the situation whereby somebody will just go and start taking away the track of the railway line, I think is tantamounting to a murder. Because these people are doing it to kill others. And therefore, if there is a way we can employ even capital punishment for these people, I think the better. Because if we don't do that, at the end of the day, we will lose precious lives. So I think I support this important motion, and I therefore hope that everybody is going to support it. Capital punishment in this case, I think, is due for this people. Thank you very much.
Senator Alero.
Thank you, Mr. President. Remy Mohammed Adamalero, representing Kebbi Central. Mr. President, I rise to also lend my support to this very important motion. I saw it on the social media. I even thought it was a joke. Mr. President, this is criminal. I want this chamber to know that we borrowed a lot of money from China to rehabilitate and construct these rail lines. And these criminals are all out now to vandalize virtually everything. So where are we going? Where are we heading to? I therefore wish to...
Point of order, Leader.
Mr. President, I rise on Order 13 of our standing order to move a motion for the extension of time to enable us to conclude the items on the agenda today. I so move.
Minority Leader.
Thank you, Mr. President. I so second.
Distinguished colleagues, those in favor of the motion that we suspend our standing order 13 to enable us to sit beyond 2 p.m. say aye. Those against say nay, the ayes have it. Senator Alero.
Thank you. Mr. President, railway is a very important and critical infrastructure that is required in this country. And no matter how much we spend on our roads, if our railway lines are bad, our roads will not have long span. That the lifespan of the roads will not last for more than 2-3 years, no matter how much we spend. But if we rehabilitate and modernize our railway, we will be able to increase the lifespan of our roads. So we should take this issue very seriously. If the existing laws are not enough to give enough punishment to these criminals, we should amend the existing law so that capital punishment will be imposed on those that vandalize our rail lines. Mr. President, this is criminal and we should take it very seriously. It is more than economic sabotage because they are killing our people. Recently, they vandalized the Kaduna Abuja rail line, apart from that of Lagos, Ibadan, and Wari Itakpe. So, huge sums of money were borrowed from China. We have not even started paying. And these vandals are now going all out to destroy this infrastructure. So we should take it very seriously, Mr. President. Thank you.
Senator Biodun Olujimi.
Thank you once again, Mr. President, distinguished colleagues. I am Biodun Olujimi. I represent Ekiti South. Mr. President, it is very heart-rending to see all these pictures on social media. In a country where we've been crying for infrastructural development, to now find out that the country was able to put rail lines and some people will go and vandalize them. In fact, Mr. President, the most heart-rending problem in this is that most of the people that were photographed on social media are in their early 40s, 20s, 30s, and 40s. The people who will need this in the future. They want to remove the future from now. And that is why I just rise to support this motion and to say there has to be capital punishment attached to this because these are national monuments. We cannot allow people who don't think about the future to come and destroy the future for our children and their children. And that is why, Mr. President, something drastic has to be done about it. We have got to police all the trucks. We've got to pick all the people that have done this, prosecute them, and make sure they are punished effectively. Mr. President, I so second, sir.
Can we go to the press? Urge the prayer one. Urge the federal government, particularly the Federal Minister of Transport and the relevant security agencies, to ensure that the perpetrators, including the saboteurs, are charged for economic sabotage with the maximum punishment without option of fine. Those in favor of prayer one say aye. Those against say nay. The ayes have it. Prayer two, urge the relevant authorities, including Nigeria Railway Corporation, cooperation to engage the services of local security guards along all railway lines in the country. Those in favor of this prayer say aye. Those against say nay, the ayes have it. And prayer 3, mandate the Committee on Police Affairs to liaise with the hierarchy of the Nigeria Police Force and the National Security and Civil Defense Corps to work out modalities towards regular patrol and surveillance of rail tracks within the country. Well, if you are talking about Committee on Police Affairs and then liaising with Nigeria Police and National Security and Civil Defense, then you also bring in Committee on Interior, because Committee Interior oversights the Civil Defense. It's not Nigeria, it's not Committee on Police Affairs. So can we make that amendment? Those in favor of prayer 3 as amended say aye. Those against say nay. The ayes have it. Well, let me also comment here. This is criminal. In fact, I don't know what economic sabotage is if this is not one. And we must take interest on what happens with those that were caught. We need to follow the trial or the prosecution, because there must be a very good example of punishment on people that give us this kind of trouble in the country. Just like Senator Aloro said, we borrowed money from China to construct these rail lines in order to increase the level of infrastructure in the country. And then some people will just go behind and start stealing this, going out to sell them maybe for, God knows, something very little against the national interest. So we must be interested in what happens to these people, because our courts also have problems. Maybe after the hue and cry, then the case will just be there for the next 2-3 years, and therefore there will be no visible example of what happens to someone who does or engages in this kind of activity. But there must be a visible example. Thank you very much, distinguished colleagues. Leader of the Senate.
Mr. President, my highly respected and distinguished colleagues, the 11th order of the day is a motion standing in the name of distinguished Senator Nora Ladi Dadut on the urgent need for an upward review of the budgetary allocation to the National Veterinary Research Institute from Plateau State to boost the vaccine production capacity of the institute. Mr. President, you may wish to invite distinguished Senator Nora Ladi Dadut to move the motion.
Distinguished Senator Professor Nora Ladi Dadut.
Thank you, Mr. President. Mr. President, distinguished colleagues, I rise to move the motion on the urgent need for an upward review of budgetary allocation to the National Veterinary Research Institute, BOM, Plateau State, to boost the vaccine production capacity of the institution, or of the institute, I beg your pardon. Mr. President, may I inform these honorable chambers that this National Veterinary Institute, VOM, was established in 1925. It's about 96 years old now, as I speak. And that is why this motion, I pray, that will be supported by the House. Therefore, the Senate notes that veterinary research includes the study of spontaneously occurring and experimentally induced models of both human and animal diseases and research at human-animal interferences, such as food safety, wildlife and ecosystem health, zoonotic diseases, and public policy. The Senate further notes that the contribution of veterinary research to our everyday lives cannot be overemphasized. It therefore is cognizant that the National Veterinary Research Institute, from Plateau State, which was established with a mandate to, among others, conduct research into all aspects of animal diseases, their treatments and control, develop and produce animal vaccines to meet national demand. Senate further is cognizant that the National Veterinary Research Institute strives to be the foremost veterinary research institute in Africa, and here it includes Ghana, Burkina Faso, Niger, and other countries, producing international quality vaccines and offering services for the identification, control, and eradication of livestock diseases through best practices and research excellence, and has recently developed, produced, and commercialized 19 vaccines for the control of livestock and poultry. May I add, Mr. President, distinguished colleagues, that this same institute has provided services to the neighboring states concerning the COVID-19 vaccination, and at least about 500 cases have been treated within certain weeks in that same institute. Senate is also aware that towards meeting the demand of vaccine production, the institute also recently constructed and established quality control complex for quality assurance of vaccines and laboratory tests, as well as bacterial vaccine production complex to meet compliance and continuous culture for vaccine production. It is also evident that the continuing actualization of the excellent research output of the Institute is dependent upon the availability of financial resources to boost its research facilities and infrastructure. Senate, therefore, regrets that despite its visible efforts and commendable outputs, this 96-year-old institute has not been able to perform optimally due to paucity of funds, a situation that has negatively impacted on the ability of the institute to deliver its mandate to the best of its potential and, of course, its values. Senate is therefore worried that the failure to adequately fund the activities of the Institute is having serious negative effects on the country's livestock production, with harmful consequences for the economy. And this is the prayer that the Senate mandate its Committee on Agriculture and Rural Development to engage with the Federal Ministry of Agriculture and Rural Development in order to explore ways of increasing the budgetary allocation to the National Veterinary Research Institute, VOM, Plateau State, for optimal performance. Mr. President, I so move. Thank you.
Yes, Senator Leon.
Thank you, Mr. President, distinguished colleagues. I remain Mohammed Ali. Mr. President, I rise to second this motion because of its importance. National Veterinary Research Institute, VOM, is one of the oldest, institutes in the country. It's meant to produce vaccines for animals or for livestock generally. I happen to be in the Committee on Agriculture. Mr. President, the head of this institute complained bitterly to us that the allocation given to them is grossly inadequate, and they will not be able to carry out important research and also be able to produce enough vaccines for use in the country. Mr. President, if we can adequately fund this institute, we have no business importing vaccines into Nigeria. He assured us that he has all the staff, all the technical staff required to produce higher quality vaccines for the use of our livestock. And we can even stop importing and thereby saving foreign exchange. I therefore support this motion that there should be increased funding to this institute, and possibly we can even look beyond the budget if possible, so that we can adequately fund this institute in order to perform optimally. It is for our own good. We are in the era of diversification of the economy, and I believe it is in line with that I support the request that more funding should go into this institute so that agriculture can be diversified. It's a means of getting foreign exchange. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Distinguished colleagues, okay, Senator Oroyolo Aderele Adeyemi.
Thank you, Mr. President. I'm Senator Adelere Adeyemi Oriolowo, representing Osun West Senatorial District. I want to thank the mover of this motion and to say that the recent challenges posed by various epidemics that is cutting across the world, especially when you talk about Ebola and the most recent one, which is COVID-19, and the limited availability of the global limited availability of vaccine calls for local production. And I believe that if we are able to fund this particular research institute, it is possible for us even to get sufficient vaccine for the country, and also we can also export to other countries, hereby attracting foreign currency to our country. In view of this, I want us to go beyond the request that we go to Ministry of Agric to look for additional funding, but also to make it one of the supplementary budget issue that we are proposing for the defense, that during that time we also make a supplementary budget for the research institute, so that they will be able to come up with quality vaccine that will be internationally acceptable. I so support. Thank you.
Well, thank you very much, distinguished colleagues. There's only one prayer. We'll go to the prayer. Mandate is Committee on Agriculture and Rural Development to engage with the Federal Ministry of Agriculture and Rural Development in order to explore ways of increasing the budgetary allocation to the National Veterinary Research Institute, NVRI, for optimal performance. Those in favor of this prayer say aye. Those against say nay. The ayes have it. Yes?
Mr. President, my amendment is that you should read that if there is a need, that the Ministry of Agriculture and Rural Development should present a supplementary budget towards the realization of this, the funding of this research institute.
Well, my take will be, before somebody seconds, my take will be that the supplementary budget the National Assembly is waiting is exclusively for the purchase of COVID-19 vaccines and the security funding of security agencies. The 2022 budget appropriation bill, I'm sure by June they will start working on it because they will present it in September. So instead of maybe diluting the supplementary budget, because if you start adding these things, we don't know where it will end. I would rather suggest that we look at the 2022 appropriation and see where we can place this in Senator Leru.
Yeah, Mr. President, I want to suggest that we advise the Institute to approach the CBN for intervention, just like what they are doing in dry season farming for rice, maize, and other crops. The CBN has intervened in cotton production, in cocoa production, in rubber plantation, in palm oil, and they can also intervene in production of vaccine for livestock. It's all about agriculture. I think if we do that, we will have an easier and faster way of getting funding. Thank you.
I would suggest that should be an additional prayer. And it's not for the MVRI management to approach CBN. We can urge the CBN to provide some funds for MVRI instead of asking the management to go through. Maybe we can use that as an additional prayer. Is that okay? Can we say special funding? I say, can we say special funding instead of additional funding? Senator Professor.
Thank you, Mr. President and distinguished colleagues. I want to really emphasize and support the two last speakers, particularly concerning the special funding, because when I visited the institute, I went around.
So you are seconding the additional prayer? Okay, that's okay. So those in support of the additional prayer, say aye. Those against, say nay. The ayes have it. Well, thank you very much, distinguished colleagues. And let me also say that, as far as I know, the Ministry of Agriculture and Rural Development has about 22 or more agricultural research institutes. I serve as chairman of the Committee on Agriculture in the House of Reps for some years. And I know how MVRI was underfunded, of course, alongside the other agricultural research institutes. Now we have National Agricultural Research Council that oversees the activities of these institutes. We cannot make serious progress in agriculture if we continue to do it the way we have been doing it in the last 100, 200 years. We still have our cows, those that give us just some few pints of milk because of the breed, because of the way we walk around with them. The level of management it makes it difficult for them to really give you the kind of yield and output that you would need. Similarly, our crop yields are so low. What could be 20 tons of maize in Brazil, for example, per hectare, here maybe 2 or 3 tons per hectare. And we just cannot make serious progress with this kind of thing. So we need to put a lot of resources into our agricultural institutes. And there are people, very brilliant Nigerians. In 2004, we traveled to Brazil, to Ambrepa. Ambrepa is the largest agricultural research institute in Brazil. And guess what? The man at the center of research on cassava, the best person in the world, was a Nigerian. He was needed everywhere. When we went to that institute, he was either in Sweden or somewhere. Everybody was looking for him. But he was just away from Nigeria, here. He worked in IITA in Ibadan, and somebody just didn't like his face. The guy, I think, was from Cross River or Kwaibo, and they sacked him. So we have brilliant people, but we need to give them what to work with. And I believe that giving our Agricultural Research Institute some funding will make them do better and will revolutionize our agricultural sector. Thank you very much, distinguished colleagues. I think with this, we have come to the end of today's session. And I want to remind us all that next week, 26th and 27th, will be devoted to our zonal public hearings on the review of the 1999 Constitution. And I want to also take the opportunity to once again implore Nigerians that whoever feels he has some issues that he wants considered in the Constitution, you have an opportunity, you should have a date. Choose whichever center you want to go and present your case. The National Assembly is open to all manners of ideas and views on how to make Nigeria work better for Nigerians. With this, I want to point of order again, leader.
In order to smoothen our closure, I would like to move a motion for us to step down consideration of the remaining items on our order paper to another legislative day.
Leader, you are already holding your books like you are ready to go. Minority Leader.
Thank you, Mr. President. I so second.
Distinguished colleagues, those in favor of the motion that we stand down the remaining items on the order paper, say aye. Those against, say nay. The ayes have it. The Senate is hereby adjourned till 1st June 2021 at 10 a.m. prompt. Thank you very much.